Welcome to Old Dog, Young Bull. Old school meets new wave as Joe Old Dog Mays and Charlie Young Bull Forrester deliver a multimedia discussion of all things sports. Now settle in as Joe and Charlie come strong here on Old Dog, Young Bull. From the ocean comes a notion that the realized lies in the rhythm, and the rhythm of vision is a football player. I am Mr. Wiggles the Worm, your DJ for the affair, and it is Super Bowl week. Sitting here with my bestie. What's up, man?
What's happening? Little DJ and
Yeah,
to start the show.
had to pull up a little Parliament to kick things off, get in the vibe.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, the one and only Charlie Young Bull Forrester here with us today.
You better be careful or Turning Point USA is going to have to start DJing their own version of the intro to Old Dog Young Bull.
We may have a Parliament version of the intro and then like a Merle Haggard version or something.
Hey, Merle doesn't deserve that much hate.
Yeah, that's fair. Merle was one of the goats. Maybe it'd be Cardi.
Yeah.
Who knows?
That's fair. Good old Hank.
Yeah, buddy. So tell me, Hank.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're at the week. We've been building up to this. Let's see, September, October, November, December, January, February. It is 6 months. Half a year we've been waiting for this. And it is here, man. Super Bowl week. This Sunday, the Seattle Seahawks will be visiting the New England Patriots.
Who would have thought after the start
Super
of the year that the final two teams would be the New England Patriots and the Seattle Seahawks?
You know the worst part about this, and I had picked Seattle. I think I picked Detroit, but I think I had Seattle and Detroit in the NFC Championship. But the worst part of all of this is that Bill Simmons picked the Patriots to have this kind of run. I don't know that he picked them for the Super Bowl, but he picked them to have this kind of run in part because his confidence in Drake May, but also because of their schedule. And they, at the beginning of the season, they were projected to have the easiest schedule in the league. I think I read something yesterday that said they wound up having the easiest schedule in history or in the 21st century. Maybe it was 21st century. So, yeah, but you know what? You play the games.
Yeah. And I'm not surprised that Bill Simmons picked the Patriots. That's pretty homerism.
He's been pretty sort of gun shy a little bit last couple of years because New England has been struggling. So I think he's been a little gun shy, but yeah, I hate it when he's right.
Yeah. Yeah, and normally like Boston sports, it's hard to root for them, but this Patriots team just, I don't know, they have a different feel to them than the Belichick era and the Tom Brady era.
I think that difference is Mike Vrabel. I think obviously he played for Belichick. By the way, my favorite prop bet this year was would a linebacker catch a touchdown pass? And I think that was an homage to Mike Vrabel and his propensity for catching touchdown passes in big games. But he played with the Belichick era, so he's used to that accountability and all those things that the Patriots were under Bill Belichick. But he also brings a human element that, frankly, I mean, Belichick, I'm not sure he was human, so I'm not sure how he could have done that. But he brings a human element. And, like this whole Warriors come out to play thing. If you're a fan of 1980s movies, you get the reference. It's a great reference. Um, but yeah, I mean, he's got a connection with his players, and you see him out there, dapping up players coming into the locker room after the games. He has done an incredible job in his first year in New England.
Yeah, no question. And to put him back on the top of the mountain, that's impressive. Specifically only it being 1 year. It's not like he fully turned around, the program over time. He came in with a team that couldn't even sniff the playoffs, and has elevated them all the way to the Super Bowl. And yeah, the it's just it's an incredible season for New England and should make for a good Super Bowl as well.
In his first year, he got the Patriots back to the Super Bowl, for the first time in 7 years. Now, that obviously doesn't seem a long time doesn't seem like a long time for Cowboys and Raiders fans, but the fact that there were 7 years between the last Patriots Super Bowl and this one, the gap between their 3rd and their 4th, 2004, 2014, there was a longer gap between Super Bowls during the Brady era than there has been between the Brady era and the Drake May era.
Insane.
Yeah. Um, this, I think, points to, and we're gonna get into making our predictions for the superlatives of the year, the NFL honors, runs tonight. We're recording this on Thursday, so we'll make our picks on a lot of things, including the big game on Sunday. But you look around the NFL, and the formula that seems to be working is a good young coach with a good young quarterback. You saw it with, um, Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams in Chicago. You see it with Vrabel and Drake May in New England. You see it with Liam Cohen and Trevor Lawrence. Now he's not a new quarterback, but pairing that coach and quarterback up is really seems to be kind of a magic formula. McDonald and Sam
And
Darnold
Darnold.
in Seattle.
Yeah.
So, having said all that, my fingers are really crossed that the Clint Kubiak, uh, um, uh,
Fernando
Fernando
Mendoza.
Mendoza combination is gonna fit into that thing as well. But yeah, that kinda surprised me when I started looking at the gap between Super Bowls during the Brady era and then between the Brady and Nick. Anyway,
Yeah. And
kudos
it's easy
kudos.
to maximize a roster whenever you have a quarterback on a cheap deal. So rookie contracts for quarterbacks is big. And then also if you can get, bargain deals and not pay the top end of the quarterback market like Seattle did with Darnold, you're still able to pay the supporting cast pretty well so you can surround them with good talent. But once that quarterback gets his money, the team tends to suffer around him. And besides, teams like the Rams, um, and for the longest time wherever Brady was, um, you actually get success after paying a quarterback. Normally, it goes the opposite way.
Yeah, and you look at a team like Kansas City where Mahomes and his agent have made the deals with the Chiefs such that it maximized the Chiefs' ability to pay other guys. Mahomes, make no mistake, Patty Mahomes was getting his, he was getting bagged,
Yeah,
but he was at least negotiating, stretching the contract out, doing renewals in a way that allowed them to spend money today. It eventually caught up with him. We saw that this year.
absolutely. That's
Um,
what I was about to point out.
yep.
Is I feel like now we're starting to see the actual ramifications of uh, Patrick Mahomes getting paid, and that defense doesn't have as much talent, and they're having to only utilize the draft and not being able to, afford players like Tyreek Hill or like the cornerbacks they lost Snead and all these other supporting casts around Patrick Mahomes that helped him go to all these Super Bowls. Now the entire pressure resides on him, and if you don't have um, a perfect year from him, um, you see what the result
Yeah,
is.
the margin for error for the Chiefs was significantly less than it has been in past years. So,
Yep,
yeah, you made that point earlier in the year that quarterback on the rookie deal is kind of um, instrumental, or it's kind of critical to building a team. And you look around again at these teams we're talking about. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence has gotten paid down in Jacksonville. Drake May's in his second year. Caleb Williams in his second year. You've got Sam Darnold got paid pretty well from Seattle. Um,
I mean decently. Like where did his
Yeah,
contract
yeah, I
end
wanna
up?
say he ended up in the 15. I don't think he was outrageously. Yeah, you can check that out. We've got a lot to cover
That is
today.
true.
But no, this is no, I'm not rushing you. I'm just excited. This is gonna be, I think, could be my favorite episode of the year so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And it looks like Darnold comes in. Uh, so looks like he got a total value of 100 million, but the average year is 33. So there's 17 quarterbacks ahead of him.
Yeah.
So, and we're talking like quarterbacks like Geno Smith, Kirk Cousins, Deshaun Watson,
Well, you gotta hurt me
um,
like that, man. What do you gotta bring
Tua.
why do you gotta bring yeah. I guess my feelings can't get too hurt with Gino if we're gonna bring up Tua.
Yeah, but it's like he took, mid market money, um, and still they were able to spend on other players. They were able to bring in a Demarcus Lawrence, and able to sign a Cooper Cup, and all these surrounding role players that really have paid off on their Super Bowl push. And without that, if he were to get top end money, Seattle wouldn't be able to put a team around him like they have been.
Yeah, and you look at a guy like, JSN, he's still on,
Rookie
if
deal.
I'm not mistaken, he's still on a 4-year, $14 million rookie deal, and he's frankly one of the best in the NFL. I mean, he's
Yeah.
so, yeah, a whole lot of things have to go right, a whole lot of the timing of things has to work well. So, yeah, like I said, my fingers are crossed for the Kubiak-Mendoza, era to, land in Las Vegas, although I don't wanna jinx things. I know you've been touting Kubiak to the Raiders as soon as the coaching carousel started. I figured out did I tell you I figured out why I've been a little bit reluctant, about Clint Kubiak? 2
Is it
things.
because his dad?
The part of it's his dad. The second
Yeah.
part's his dad. His dad was John Elway's backup, and then he was a Super Bowl winning coach in Denver. So anybody that has ties to, the mountainous donkeys, is not necessarily my favorite. He's never played, and I look at guy now. Granted, neither is Cohen, neither is McDonald, but you look at a guy like Vrabel, the difference that he makes, that spark, that thing that distinguishes him from other coaches is the fact that he's played and has played in a successful system. Um, Granted, Kubiak was offensive coordinator on a team that's going to the Super Bowl. Not a done deal. Don't want to jinx things. I'll knock wood a little bit here. We've got to get to Monday, get through the Super Bowl so that the Raiders can actually sign Clint Kubiak. But anyway, I'm optimistic not to turn this into a Raiders podcast, but that was one of the things on my mind.
Yeah, that's fair. But like, do you remember Sean McVay as being a player?
No, that's true.
Do you remember Kyle Shanahan as being a wide receiver?
Yeah.
It these offensive gurus that come out. Ben Johnson, do you recall him playing?
Yeah.
Um,
That's
so
but see, I look at a guy like, Dan Campbell in Detroit,
that's true.
did play.
Did play.
He's got that kind of Vrabel vibe. Now the question is, will that rub the team wrong eventually?
Yeah.
That's kind of a little bit what happened. I think Vrabel did a great job in Tennessee, but it happened a little bit. It was starting to wear a little bit thin, but that franchise was also in disarray, and they were a mess and weren't bringing him the talent needed to win.
And I would just say for like a Dan Campbell, what does he look like whenever he doesn't have elite coordinators around him?
We
So
saw that, didn't we?
yeah.
Yep.
And it's not like Vrabel has elite coordinators. Um, you
Now
know,
Josh is one of the greatest offensive coordinators that I have seen,
yeah, yeah, I mean, I guess so. Um,
but only as an offensive coordinator.
right.
Yeah.
And I feel like whenever he gets, um, to an elevated role and is still taking on the offensive coordinator, his teams falter.
Yep.
So I don't necessarily know if, you remove him from the equation, how much different this team looks.
Yeah.
I don't really feel like he's just one of those upper echelon um, kind
Offensive.
of offensive minds.
Yeah, like Sean McVay, for
Right.
example, to use your example. He's, I think, a great example. He's got his own coaching tree now already.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, I think he has the most, if I'm not mistaken. And then his old coworker in Washington, Kyle Shanahan, has equally the same. So
Kyle Shanahan, I know he's one of the finalists for Coach of the Year in the NFL honors tonight. And we talked about this all season long. Seemed like week after week, there's no way the 49ers survive this week. There's no way the 49ers survive this week because they had so many injuries and they were just battling constantly and somehow made it, almost to to the divisional round at least.
yep.
No. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
they
was the
made it
yeah,
to
it
the
was the
divisional.
Rams and the Seahawks last week.
Yep.
I know both of those, they played them three times each. So the
Yeah.
NFC West was kind of dominant this
I
year.
mean, extremely.
Yeah.
Extremely, and we kinda knew that was gonna be the case going in, but, I don't think anyone anticipated those 3 to be, like, the top of the NFC, and,
Yeah.
um, all 3 of those teams, you put them in any other division, probably won those divisions,
Oh,
so
yeah, easily. We got a ton of football to talk about, but before we do that, is it too soon to talk a little NBA, specifically the movement, the action taken yesterday by your beloved team, your formerly beloved,
see,
uh,
I was having a good time with this
uh,
conversation,
too soon to
and then
talk about
and
it?
then all of a sudden, now I'm getting hit with the Dallas Mavericks incompetency.
This was such a salary dump move in my mind. For those who haven't heard, the Mavericks traded Anthony Davis et al. For 2 bags of peanuts and Chris Middleton. I'll run this down, and I just wanted to get your opinion on it. I know you're a hugely passionate Mavs fan. The Mavericks will get Chris Middleton, AJ Johnson, Branham, Marvin Bagley III, a 2026 first from OKC, a 2030 first, that's correct, 2030 first pick from Golden State that's top 20 protected, a 2026 second from Phoenix, a 2027 second from Chicago, 2029 second from Houston. So they stack up some draft choices. They get some, how should we say this, palatable contracts. And in exchange, the Wizards pick up Anthony Davis, Jaden Hardy, D'Angelo Russell, and Dante Exum. Seems awfully, like I said, to me, and I think you even made this point yesterday, it just feels like a dump.
Yeah. I
Just
mean,
tanking in January, February.
yeah, and I mean that's purely what it was. Um, and to kind of start it, we're only about a year and a few weeks removed from trading for this player, and to already punt on this guy um, after the fact that uh, the um, the backup. Um, sorry, I'm getting
Yeah,
distracted.
yeah,
Uh,
that's the hazard of recording a podcast in an operating bookstore.
Yeah, but 1 year and a few weeks away from trading for this guy, trading the franchise, and Kyrie is already out.
Yep,
So it's not like we were poised to make a playoff push or anything. To punt on AD and just trade him for essentially cap relief, because
yep.
the first round picks on paper, it's like, okay, they got first. Well, actually, one of them's OKC for this year, which OKC,
They're gonna be
um,
drafting. They're at 40-12. They're leading the Western Conference right now. They're gonna draft
yeah, they're the defending
30th,
champion.
30th.
So it's hard to believe that they won't make a deep playoff push. And then Golden State, I know it's a top 20 protected, but they are one of those teams that will always be a destination.
Yep.
So even if Curry retires by 2030, if they land a Giannis, or if a couple of young stars decide to team up, San Francisco and Golden State is a premier destination.
Yep.
So that first round pick most likely is going to be a late first round pick, and then second round picks. And Chris Middleton essentially is on an expiring deal,
Yep.
so we'll get cap space from him. And then Bagley also is on an expiring deal, so we'll get cap space from him. AJ Johnson's the only one that really stands out. And he was a first round pick a few years back, so there's potential with him. But they already flipped Branham, and they're picking up Tyus Jones.
Mm.
So they finally get a actual point guard, and it was a point guard they couldn't afford in the offseason to pick up. But now that they traded away essentially three of their worst contracts, in AD, Jaden Hardy, and D'Angelo Russell, they had the flexibility to be underneath the first and second apron to go and actually get a point guard. But it's just so disheartening, and I get it was a different GM that brought in AD, um, but the owner had to sign off on it.
Right.
And so to already, essentially tear it down and just try to get what you can for a damaged good, it's like, why did you make this trade in the first
Yeah,
place?
why'd you dump your franchise player, your number one, with without question? Why'd you pawn him off for somebody only to turn and flip what you got for very little?
Exactly. And like I get, like, he has what's absolutely insane is that whenever the Mavs traded midseason for Rajon Rondo,
Mm.
who only played half a year, he played more games than Anthony Davis played in his Mavs career. Um, and so to trade a franchise player like Luka Doncic for this guy, um, and then essentially, work with him throughout his injury process. And then his other counterpart, is dealing with a catastrophic injury. This season was already lost. Him being out, you're essentially eh, able to tank all the way down to go get potentially a high draft pick. It doesn't make sense to turn the page this quick. And that's my biggest beef with it is like, you knew who you were trading for when you traded for him, and now you're acting like, well, he's damaged goods and we just have to get whatever we can for him. And that's just to me so dysfunctional. And the dysfunction is further than just the Nico Harrison regime that, got the entire blame for the level of dysfunction.
Yeah.
When in actuality, it's this damn ownership group that
Yeah.
is the most dysfunction.
They are an absolute mess, and when Cuban sold a chunk of the team to, what's her name, Edelman? No, Miriam
Adelson?
Edelson.
Yeah.
When he sold that chunk of the team and says, "Oh, yeah, I'm still gonna have a voice in it," then only to find out, "Yeah, no, you don't. You don't have a voice in what's going on."
Nope.
Yeah, he cashed out, call it what it is. He dipped, he sold it to a team that's or to an owner that wants to move the team to Las Vegas. I know you weren't thrilled with the Doncic Anthony Davis trade last year. Um, as a Lakers
No.
fan, I mean, just keeping it on you, I was thrilled.
Right. You do that deal 10 out of 10 times if you're the Lakers.
And Anthony Davis said it before, seems by all indications, good cat,
Mhm,
stand-up guy,
mhm.
but when he can stand up. Because his injury history is such that you're never going to get a full season out of him. When he plays, it's even gotten to the point now where he's not as dominant because injuries have taken their toll on his skill set. So you're not even getting a game Anthony Davis at this point, even if he's healthy. So yeah, it was a bad move all the way around for Dallas. It just, I feel bad for you, and I do.
Yeah, but it's like to make this deal, the deal coming into to this year was arguably the worst in the NBA history. And to already turn the page on it and essentially turn this into Chris Middleton and a bunch of second round picks, this has made the deal of Luka Doncic for Anthony Davis the worst in professional sports. Because now essentially you're in a full blown rebuild, and without the grace of the or the NBA gods, the Mavs would be an absolute organizational purgatory.
Yep.
Um, and Cooper Flag essentially is giving them the only hope. Um, but to essentially, tear this thing entirely down 3 years removed from making the NBA finals, it's a damn disgrace.
Yeah, I knew this was dangerous to bring this topic up, that it was going to get things, but I kinda wanted to cleanse your palate. We'll move on, we'll talk some NFL and get back into our happy place.
And one more caveat, like Mark Cuban trying to take credit for trading away AD to the Wizards is so distasteful.
Yeah,
He's like, "Well, now I have a voice back in the organization." It's like, dude, you sold a team to incompetent owners so you could make the most money, so you could go and try to run for office
yeah.
instead of focusing on the Dallas Mavs and the Luka Doncic era. You gave the keys over to freaking highway robbers.
Yeah, and what kinda idiot would run for office in today's climate, for that matter? That's bananas.
Hey, you're not the Dallas Mavs owner,
That's true.
so
I'm not walking away from the Dallas Mavericks, ownership to run for office. That is fair.
and then all of a sudden resurface after trading away a guy that essentially you traded your franchise for and trying to take credit for it. It's nasty all the way around. And as a Mavs fan, I have zero desire to watch this team, and I hate it, absolutely hate it that a player like Cooper Flag has to deal with it, because the Mavs fan base is arguably one of the most loyal fan bases in all of Dallas sports, in my opinion.
Yep.
They ride and die with that team through and through. And for the organization to slap him in the face and then Cooper Flag having to deal with the ramifications of that, it's just so depressing.
Yeah, and everything that was good about the Mark Cuban era in Dallas was just completely flushed away by the way he handled selling his interest in the team, or the chunk of the team. The way things have unfolded over the past couple of years, it's actually really sad.
Yep.
Hopefully, we'll see some rebuilding on more solid ground going forward, because, like you said, Dallas basketball fans deserve it, and they've been loyal. I've seen it. I see it every day. So
Yep. And you just wonder how much longer they have in Dallas,
yeah, I
because the way that they're tearing it down is not looking like they want to be any sort of level of high production,
I think that they are fighting to be the first team in line to go to Las
and
Vegas.
that's horrible.
Yeah, that is absolutely terrible. Basketball NBA team in Las Vegas, fine, just shouldn't be the Mavericks. But of course, we went through the same thing with Seattle going to
Yeah, the
Oklahoma
Supersonics
City.
should never be in Oklahoma,
Absolutely. All
but
right, let's get
that's
off basketball, man. Basketball makes
yeah.
our blood pressure go up, makes us sad.
Yeah.
The good news is our picks for the year, we didn't quite the bad good news, bad news. The bad news is we didn't quite get to our 65% target in pick accuracy, but we both did finish over 60%. Both of us right around 62. You're right at 62. I'm just a, a hundredth of a percentage point above you. We both finished with an equal number of wins. We picked 163 right victories. I just didn't care four times more than you did, but yeah, both of us. I think that's pretty respectable. 62-ish% on our picks.
Yeah, not
Hey,
bad at all.
no complaints about that.
Heck yeah. If I had a hat on, I'd tip it to you,
There we go.
getting that 62%.
Yeah, we're right there, man. As I mentioned, we've got the NFL honors tonight. Starting off part of that being the Pro Football Hall of Fame announcements. Um, Want to dive in a little bit to who you think should be, who do you think will be
Sure.
picked? It has leaked to this point that Robert Kraft, Bill Belichick, and Eli Manning are not in. Uh, Eli,
In my opinion, good.
not super surprising on Eli. There are those who would think that he deserves to be in, but Brian Diardo of CBS Sports said that he's out. Um, Belichick and Kraft, they're
Mhm.
both were in the same category.
Mhm.
Um, One of the voters, Vi Gregorian from Kansas City Star, said, I didn't vote against Belichick or Kraft. I voted for three senior candidates, Ken Anderson, Roger Craig, and L.C. Greenwood from the Steelers. A, do you buy Gregorian's claim, or was this punishment for Spygate, Deflategate?
Oh, purely punishment.
That's kind of what I thought
Um,
too.
Number one, Bill Belichick is the second winningest coach in NFL history. Um, take away who he is as a man, and take away, the kind of controversialness that his time in New England had. He still won a lot of football games, and more football games than essentially every coach in the Hall of Fame but one.
Yeah,
So that doesn't make a bit of sense at all. Um, Anyone else that has that kind of record is a first ballot Hall of Famer.
I think so too. I don't think there's any way that doesn't have that Spygate at Deflategate didn't have something to do. And just a general hard on that sports media, NFL football writers had against the Patriots in general. They
Horrible.
just hated them
Yeah.
because they were so freaking dominant for so long.
Yeah, and I mean, but they don't hold the same ill feelings to, the 49ers.
Yeah.
They don't own the same feeling towards the Green Bay Packers.
Mhm.
They don't own it towards the Cowboys, you know,
Given this guy's writing for the Kansas City Star, you also don't see that same level of acrimony
for the Chiefs.
for the Chiefs.
Sure.
A little bit, but nothing even coming close to what you saw against the Patriots.
Yeah, and it's just insane. And for Robert Kraft, it's difficult to get owners in, but if you're going to induct Jerry Jones into the Hall of Fame, Robert Kraft deserves to be in the Hall of Fame over him.
Oh my God,
So
10,000 times over.
for him just to be snubbed, that's also incredible. Because again, this is generation after generation the Patriots were winning Super Bowls. So,
They
early 2000s to what, 2018, 17
18,
was the last.
they're back in the Super Bowl now.
Right. And so that's even more of a credit to Robert Kraft.
Exactly.
So that to me doesn't make a bit of sense. And that just tells you why the selection committees to put people into the Hall of Fame is a little bit fraudulent.
Yeah, I think that there's some transparency missing in that. I know Peter King, who used to write for Sports Illustrated, worked for NBC for a long time. He covered this in quite a bit of detail. He was very defensive is probably the wrong word, but he tried to explain the challenges that are faced by the voters. And but there's some some candidates are so easy to pick that if you overthink it, that's the only way they don't get in.
Yep.
Let me run down. We've got 15 modern era, 3 senior, and 2 coach contributors. We'll eliminate the coach. I'll just run down the list of who the 15 finalists were.
Yeah.
Then we can bounce in a little bit on who we think should be in and who we think is going to be in.
Absolutely. I got three. I think that I feel like are for sure locks.
I got a couple of those too. Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft, we know, are out on the coach contributor side.
Criminal.
The 3 seniors are Kenny Anderson, quarterback of the Bengals, for 15 years, Roger Craig, running back for the 49ers primarily, but also played for the Raiders in Los Angeles and the Vikings, and then L.C. Greenwood, defensive end, part of the Steel Curtain defense in Pittsburgh from 69 to 81. Those are the seniors. Here are the modern era. Drew Brees, Larry Fitzgerald, Adam Vinatieri, Luke Kuechly, Willie Anderson, Jari Evans, offensive line from the Saints, Frank Gore, running back for about 40 years, Torrey Holt from the Rams, also played for the Jaguars for 1 year. Eli, of course, is out. Terrell Suggs from Baltimore. Reggie Wayne, wide receiver from Indianapolis. Kevin Williams, defensive tackle for the Vikings. Jason Witten, tight end for your beloved Dallas Cowboys, my beloved Las Vegas Raiders. Darren Woodson from the Cowboys, safety. And Marshall Yanda, guard from the Baltimore Ravens in the 2000s. So, who do you see who gets in your mind?
Yeah.
And then who doesn't get in that you think should?
Number one lock, Drew Brees.
Yep.
There's no way you don't put Drew Brees as a first ballot Hall of Famer. His record, his statistics, all of it speaks for itself. And just the story too,
Yep.
blowing out his arm, essentially didn't know if that was the end of his career, and then, revitalized his career in New Orleans and won that Super Bowl after the catastrophic hurricane. So there's no way you pass up Drew Brees here.
Yeah, his ability as an announcer notwithstanding, the things he did in the community, and the injury that he had on that last play, he played for the Chargers, tearing the labrum. I've torn my labrum and had it repaired. I know what the rehab from that is like, and I will tell you that I had my labrum repaired in 1999, I believe, and it's 2026, and I woke up last night with my shoulder bothering me. So, for him to then be able to have an entire second chapter where he elevated an entire city
Yep.
coming out of Hurricane Katrina, yeah, hats
And
off
threw for
Drew
what?
Brees.
The second most all time,
Yep.
only behind Tom Brady?
Yeah, well, Brady caught him. Brees set the bar, Brady stuck around long enough to top it.
So incredible.
Yep, I'm with you, Drew Brees, got it. He's a got to.
Yep. My next one is going to be Torrey Holt.
Okay.
Um, I feel like, the Rams, um, during 2000, or during the 2000s don't win that championship without Torrey Holt. Um, I know Isaac Bruce was a big part, Marshall Faulk as well too, but Torrey Holt was essentially the gold standard. Um, and the pivot from the essentially height of Jerry Rice's era, to the Randy Moss era, Torrey Holt carried that bridge. And I think Torrey Holt is well deserving. He's been snubbed the past few years. I just feel like this year has to be it. Again, he has all the acumen, to make the Hall of Fame. He even has the Super Bowl ring too. I just feel like Torrey Holt has to be a surefire this year.
Yep, good pick, and like you mentioned, Isaac Bruce also he is in the Hall of Fame. Torrey Holt needs to be joining him this year. I agree with you there.
Yep. And then the third one I feel like is a lock, is Frank Gore.
Yeah,
And Frank Gore, because of how long he rushed, I believe he finished top 5 in rushing all time. Um, and essentially he was one of the best running backs of his generation. Um, and his just longevity, he's like the upper 2000s Emmett Smith. He just continued to be productive, and in an era that was transforming to more of a pass heavy kind of offense. Frank Gore continued to rack up stats, and I just feel like, he is a surefire Hall of Famer in my opinion, and I would be shocked if he's snubbed.
yeah, that's a good one. That one kind of goes in the exact opposite direction of someone who has been mentioned as probably going in that I kind of have a little bit of a problem with. Like you said, you look at Frank Gore, he played from 2005 to 2020 as a running back. That is rare for a running back to play that long if your name isn't Derrick Henry. Speaking of which, interview with Dan, I'll come back to this in a second. Derrick Henry in an interview was asked if he thought he belonged in the Hall of Fame, and he said absolutely not. Do you think Derrick Henry belongs in the Hall of Fame if his career would end today?
Yeah, I mean, Derrick Henry's what, top 10 in rushing yards all time? Um, yeah, I think if he hung it up today, um, he's in company with the best. Having more rushing yards than a Jim Brown, a Marshall Faulk, a Tony Dorsett, Marcus Allen, all these players that are surefire Hall of Famers. Derrick Henry deserves that. Um, and it's crazy to think that um, he is arguably the greatest college running back of all time. Um, for essentially him to be questioned in the NFL Hall of Fame, in his opinion, is pretty funny. And I know I listened to an interview with him, and he was like, I don't even feel like I'm the best Alabama running back. He's like, I give it to Sean Alexander. I give it to Mark Ingram, who set the bar, but doesn't consider himself, the upper echelon of Alabama running backs. He's too humble
But here you got a guy that's 31, had the kind of year he had this past year. He's just built different. I'm going to run the top 20 running backs, top 20 leaders all time in rushing.
Yep.
I'm not going to list them all off. The only ones in the top 20 that are not in the Hall of Fame: Steven Jackson,
Yep.
Fred Taylor, who there are passionate Jaguar fans who believe he belongs in the Hall of Fame. Steven Jackson, Fred Taylor at 8. Steven Jackson 19, Fred Taylor 18. Running up the list, Derrick Henry at 10,
Yep.
Frank Gore at 3.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me, Adrian Peterson at 5, also not in the top.
Which when all is done, all is said and done, just like Frank Gore, Adrian Peterson deserves to be in the Hall of Fame too.
Yeah, he's going to get there. He played 14 years at that position.
Yep.
I think his off the field action activities have sort of tainted his candidacy a little bit.
Yeah.
But you're talking about Frank Gore is number 3.
3 all time.
And so I think that that is a great argument to be made for the fact that this is a guy who came in, did it, battled. Coming out of college, he was injured, blew out his knee, if I'm not mistaken.
With the U?
Yeah, with the U,
Yep.
in a bowl game, and then picked right back up, and took off in the NFL and stuck around, played for, like I said, 15 years.
Yeah, 100%.
I wanna see, yeah, he blew out his knee, da, 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 da. Yeah, I don't, yeah, I may be thinking of, not thinking of, I'm thinking of, wrong running back, wrong Miami running back. Anyway,
Is that Clinton Portis?
yeah, I think it may have been Portis that blew out
Yeah,
his knee.
Clinton Portis, I think, blew out his knee.
Anyway, point being, I think it's a great argument to be made for Frank Gore.
Yeah. Those are my 3 for sure Hall of Famers
My
whenever I look at it.
my for sure, Drew Brees, I'll agree with you there. I can't argue with your case for Frank Gore, Torrey Holt. One, two, who in my mind is an automatic no-brainer is Adam Vinatieri. Not only was he the greatest Patriots kicker of all time, but he was the greatest Colts kicker of all time.
Hmm.
Yeah. He stepped in there, played 13 years for the Colts, or, yeah, 12, 13 years with the Colts, played 9 years with the Patriots.
Patriots. Mhm.
The all-time leading NFL scorer, let me repeat that, the all-time NFL scoring leader, Adam Vinatieri, with
No,
2,673
wait.
points.
Ahead of Morton Anderson,
Yes, sir.
who played like 85
Yes.
years in the National Football League?
The all-time leading NFL scorer, Adam Vinatieri, belongs in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that's fair.
The other 2, and I don't have any others that I'm gonna say I'm gonna quit watching if they don't make it in, but there's a couple that are controversial a little bit, and the first one, I'm gonna catch some heat for this one, I'm gonna catch some strays. Larry Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
Um, Great guy,
Yeah.
solid receiver.
Yeah.
Was he ever He played a long time, got a lot of numbers. He's second only behind Jerry Rice, I think,
Isn't that
in
crazy?
career receiving yards. Um, but if I never felt about Larry Fitzgerald the way I feel about JSN when he's on the field,
Yeah, I
or
agree.
even Torrey Holt, to your point.
Yep.
I think he's solid. He was solid at Pitt. drafted well, came out, played his entire career with the Cardinals.
Yep.
I wouldn't throw a fit if, Fitzgerald comes in as first ballot. I think he will get picked.
Yeah, I do too.
I just don't know that if they would again, steal from Bill. I've listened to way too much Bill Simmons, and read too much Bill Simmons over the past 20 plus years. If there was a hall of really, really good, Larry Fitzgerald would he would be a first ballot. They would waive the waiting time for Larry Fitzgerald to get into the hall of really, really good. I just don't know that he's first ballot Hall of Famer, but again, not gonna throw a hissy fit if he makes it in.
Yeah, and I just feel like his statistics wise will probably get him in. But you look at the receivers that, we're talking first ballot.
Yep,
It's the first time he's ever been mentioned for the Hall of Fame. And receivers like Randy Moss weren't even first ballot.
yep.
Terrell Owens weren't first
You
ballot.
got a guy like Reggie Wayne sitting there waiting for his ticket to get punched. I would
Right.
not be horribly surprised or disappointed to see Reggie Wayne. I just don't think it's gonna happen for him this year.
I will lose my ever loving mind if Reggie Wayne gets in
Ahead of Torrey Holt.
before Torrey Holt.
Yeah, that's
And I
fair.
know that he had more yards all time with, you know, uh, Peyton Manning than Torrey Holt had, but
It's true.
if you give Torrey Holt Peyton Manning for his entirety of his career and then tail end with Andrew Luck, of course
Yeah, and
you're
you
going to get that level of production.
and I think it's the curse of the Y, man. You the curse of the number 2 receiver. With Torrey Holt, you had Isaac Bruce. With,
That's fair.
Reggie Wayne, you had Marvin Harrison.
Yep.
So these guys, the work that they did, even beyond the time when Bruce and Harrison were gone, these guys kept going.
Yep.
But yeah, I think that they're sitting in some of the shade of their partners in crime in that space, so
Yeah.
the other one that I have a little bit, and I've seen this name kicked around saying that he'll probably get in, and I have a problem with it,
Uh,
and that's Luke Kuechly. N
yeah.
Not because of his ability on the field, um, but I look at him the same way that I look at Tony Baselli. Tony Baselli played 7 years, Luke Kuechly played 8 years. Um, Sorry, my phone's going off. Um But Tony Baselli had to wait till his 6th year of eligibility to get voted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Yep.
This is Kuechly's 2nd year.
Yeah.
I just don't think that he played enough, and I saw in one article it said, "He was the best at his position for a half a decade." Well, a half a decade's 5 years. There's a lot of guys that have been the best at their position for 5 years.
Mhm.
Um, Tony Baselli was the best at his position for 7 years, and it took him 6 tries to get in. So,
Definitely.
if Luke Kuechly gets in, I think deep inside Tony Baselli's soul, he deserves to be a little salty. He's a classy guy. He'll never say anything. He would do nothing but welcome his new Hall of Fame brother in. Um, but I think if Tony Baselli had to wait 6 tries, Luke Kuechly does not deserve to get in on this first try or this
The second try?
his 2nd try, yeah.
Well, and even like one that, because I know you had mentioned like who I would be upset if he doesn't get in.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't think he's going to get in, but I feel like he deserves to, and that's Willie Anderson.
Yeah.
Willie Anderson was the best right tackle in the National Football League for essentially my entire, upbringing.
Yep.
He was a stalwart there, and you look at other players of that generation that's gotten in, like a Walter Jones. He was up there with them. Anthony Munoz. He was up there with them. Orlando Pace, uh, Jonathan Ogden. These are players that were equivalent to him, and like Luke Kuechly, he's been in the conversation for, like you mentioned, 2 years. And as a linebacker, um, mm, he was arguably the best, but it's not like these top upper echelon linebackers, get in uh, early. Derek Brooks, I believe, took a few years to get in. There was another one that Derek Thomas took a while to get in. Brian Urlacher. Um, so I agree with you that Luke Kuechly, I feel like if he gets in, and like a player like Willie Anderson doesn't, that's a disservice to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I agree with you. I just again not gonna not gonna turn the TV off and scream, but yeah, I think that there are other deserving players. Let's take a quick run down the seniors. See if you may or may not remember. I'm sure you've seen tape on guys like Kenny Anderson,
Yeah,
Roger Craig
I
with
feel
the
like he probably is the most deserving.
Roger Craig and LC Greenwood in my mind are yeses. Kenny Anderson is I'm trying to think of a good comp. He's better than Kirk Cousins. He was solid, stable, calm leader, never dynamic, never, but he was good. Took him to a Super Bowl. They didn't win. Um, but I just don't know that he's a Hall of Famer. He's a Hall of really good and certainly belongs in the Bengals Hall of Fame. But and then you kind of look at a guy like Willie Anderson and Kenny Anderson, unrelated, not related. Um, they both played for the Bengals, which means they've never won anything. How much does that count against them? Whatever. Roger Craig, on the other hand, was a key element of those. You mentioned the 49ers dynasties earlier. Roger Craig was a key component of those. LC Greenwood, again, LC Greenwood was part of the steel curtain for the Steelers in the 70s. I know what what LC Greenwood did to the Raiders in the 70s. Um, yeah,
Yeah, and for Elsie Greenwood on that steel curtain defense, he kind of gets, the kind of the back seat because of all the talent, especially whenever you're talking the defensive line, you're always going to mention Joe Green probably first.
yep.
Second, you're probably going to mention Jack Lambert. And then if you talk about just the defense,
Jack Ham was a better linebacker than Jack Lambert. He just had all his teeth on the field.
yeah. And then you want to talk about the defense too, like another one that you get arguably the most and deservingly so is Mel Blunt.
Absolutely.
And so LC Greenwood kind of is they're the maybe the fifth best player on that defense. So it's hard to get in, and it's what his like
Well, he's a senior candidate, so he's
yeah,
been around for a while.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what
Um,
ballot it is of his, so
but it's almost the same conundrum that Darren Woodson's facing,
yeah.
where it's like you were on a defense that had so much star-studded talent that you don't essentially get that much recognition, even though what he had 6 Pro Bowls, I think Elsie Greenwood did, and multiple all pros, and one defensive player of the year. So there is, or at least a defensive player of the year runner up.
Yeah.
There is, a case to be made. It's just he gets lost in the eliteness of that defense.
And this is one of the arguments that people brought to Peter King every year that he tried to explain away. There are a finite number of slots. There's no hard number, but somewhere between 4 and 8 players get inducted every year. There's not room for everybody, which is kind of a fundamental flaw in the Hall of Fame in general. If you don't have the ability or the space for all of the Hall of Fame caliber players to be in, then it's just a popularity contest. You're squeezing somebody for an administrative oversight rule. So
Yep.
I have a problem with that. Having said that, I don't know that I would want to be a part of that and have to have that kind of you're talking about guys' legacies here. You're talking about how they will be remembered by their grandchildren and great-grandchildren and football fans for, hundreds of years, assuming we're still around for hundreds of years, but,
Yep.
so anyway, yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how that all unfolds. Tonight, that will be announced.
Yeah. And if you put like Patrick Willis in the Hall of Fame, and Elsie Greenwood deserves to be in the
Yeah,
Hall of
come on.
Fame.
I like Patrick
So
Willis.
me
Good.
too.
Yeah, but
Me
come on.
too. But his career was
Come
like
come on.
cut completely short because of injury.
Yep.
And then like Dwight Freeney, sure, like he was a monster, but
He was no LC Greenwood, I
right,
promise you that. I've watched both of them play.
right.
No.
100%. So yeah.
Yeah, we also the rest of the NFL honors, we're not going to cover all of the categories, but we picked, we what's the word I'm looking at? Cherry picked.
Oh yeah.
Picked 6 of the categories: Defensive Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year, Coach of the Year, and Most Valuable Player. These and more will be announced, including assistant coach and a whole bunch of other stuff are going to be announced tonight at the NFL Honors, hosted by John Hamm. Um, and then we've got, after that, we have this is the exciting we haven't done this in 5 years. The all old dog and the all young bull teams are still to come after we get through our picks for the NFL honors. So don't take off.
Yeah,
You're going to listen to this whole podcast.
absolutely agreed.
All right, let's start with Defensive Rookie of the Year. The finalists are Abdul Carter, linebacker for the Giants, Nick, and I'm going to butcher some of these names, Nick Imamori from the Seahawks, defensive back, James Pierce Jr., defensive end for the Falcons, Carson Schweschinger for linebacker for the Browns, and Xavier Watts, safety for the Falcons. Who you got, Charlie?
Yeah, so there were a lot of good production from defensive rookies this year. One is still playing
Hmm.
and getting to play in a Super Bowl. And I feel like that uh, he's been a large contributor to arguably the best defense in the National Football League.
Yep.
But I got to go a different route. And I feel like the entire body of work that this player showcased throughout the year. He was on a very good defensive team that had a horrible offense. And that's why they were not productive at all. But that's Carson Schweschinger. I just feel like his level of production, um, he was one of the bright spots on that Cleveland Browns team. He finished with 156 total tackles, 2.5 sacks, 2 interceptions, played the entire season as well too. Um, and he kind of came from nowhere. If I'm not mistaken, he was like a third, fourth round pick. No, second round pick. But wasn't really highly regarded coming into college. And went to UCLA, and he um, definitely showed out this year. So I would have to say Carson Schweschinger is the defensive rookie of the year.
Yeah, not gonna hate that choice, and I don't think that my pick, is the one who's gonna win. First of all, we're splitting votes in Atlanta, but James Pierce Jr., and the reason that I say that, Atlanta struggled with putting pressure on opposing quarterbacks. They flipped that around quickly, and James Pierce Jr. was a part of that. With Robert Saleh coming in now to scratch that. That's Tennessee. Never mind. I'm thinking about my old dog team. Um,
Kevin
yeah,
Stefanski's
with Kevin
coming in.
Stefanski going into Atlanta, he's going to he knows how to build a defense. I think he's got a piece with Pierce that is going to make a difference. And like I said, I think the ability to put pressure on opposing quarterbacks that the Falcons showed this year that was absent completely the year before is attributable at least in part to James Pierce Jr. Um, so yeah,
And
that's my pick for defensive rookie of the year.
you want to talk about a gamble paying off. Atlanta traded an extra first round pick to get back into the first round last year after picking Jalen Walker first, which was another defensive end from Georgia.
Yep,
And James Pierce, like what he finished with dang near 11 sacks,
yep. I think he was
um,
9.5 or
you know, super productive for a rookie. I want to say he was in double digits, if I'm not mistaken.
could be. I might be
Um,
thinking of somebody else.
so yeah, James Pierce, very rarely. I know after the draft, everyone was essentially dragging Atlanta for trading back in to get him. But he outperformed, Jalen Walker, and was arguably the best defensive lineman on that team. He is more than deserving, in my opinion, to get the rookie of the year.
Yep, I think there's some really good choices, in this one. Like you said, we've got one of these rookies playing the Super Bowl on Sunday, so
And I love that it's not Abdul Carter
yeah, yeah, there you
getting like what 5 sacks, maybe 4.5.
He's he was asked, I think I still believe in him. I just don't know that I think he's on the list because he's a Giant, New York
Yeah.
media, but yeah. Offensive Rookie of the Year, the finalists: Jackson Dart, quarterback of the Giants; Emeka Ibuka from wide receiver for the Buccaneers; Travion Henderson from the Patriots. Yeah, I'll let you pronounce this next name. Um, McMillan, wide
Oh,
receiver.
Ted McMillan?
Yeah, Ted McMillan
Tetaroa?
from the Panthers, and then Tyler Shuck, quarterback of the New Orleans Saints.
Mhm.
2 wide receivers, 2 quarterbacks, and a running back. Who is your pick?
Yeah, he solidified himself as the number one option for this team, and elevated that offense from one of the worst a few years back to an actual playoff team, even though they kind of fell ass backwards into the playoffs. But that would be Tet McMillan. Um, he had a very slow start to the year, but really came on at the very end. He finished the year with 1,000 yards receiving and 7 touchdowns, and again, just the full body of work. He's the clear number one in Carolina. And he kind of was thrusted into the number one role right off the bat. And besides like the first few games kind of getting his footing in, he lived up to those expectations. And you look at that Carolina team, he's arguably the best player on that offense. And I think the showcase that he had this year, he's more than deserving to be the offensive rookie of the year.
Yeah, I think if I were picking who I thought was gonna win, I think Tyler Shuck might actually sneak in there. But my pick is Emeka Egbuka for a lot of the same reasons you had on McMillan. He was forced into having to be the number 1 early in the year. He hit a wall late in the season. Their bye week, he was able to sit back and kinda recharge and came back a little bit stronger toward the end, but he definitely hit that rookie wall. But I think Ibuka in Tampa Bay is who I would have as my offensive rookie of the year.
Yeah, and I like the production Amika had, and especially early on, having to step into that role. But whenever Mike Evans came back, and then Chris Godwin slowly worked his way back, his role just kind of diminished, and that really hurt his statistics late in the year.
But
Um,
but if you also look, that also coincides with some of the tapering off of Tampa Bay's, success on the
Success,
field.
that's true too.
So you wonder if, again, the loss of Liam Cohen and bringing the veteran receivers back where they were dynamic with Ibuka early in the season.
That's true.
So yeah, I just wonder how much that had to do with it, and I don't think there's gonna be a question who's gonna be the number 1 in Tampa Bay, for 2026.
And what I'm most concerned with, and I know you mentioned Shuck, but I just feel like this is one of those. Another one of the scenarios where the people that are selecting these will kind of have biases towards it, and a lot of the New York love is probably going to wear off. And I really think Jackson Dart at the end of the day wins it. But really, what is deserving, it should be one of those wide receivers, in my opinion,
I agree with you. This is where quarterback bias sneaks in. I
and
love
New
Jack
York bias
Yeah, and New York. I love Jackson Dart. I think he's dynamic. I think Tyler Shuck caught a lot of people by surprise,
massively.
other than Kellen Moore. I think Kellen Moore did a great job with him in New Orleans. Defensive player of the year, the only category on which we agreed, and I don't even think there's a whole lot of argument about it.
No, not at all. You
Yeah.
know, you broke Michael Strahan's record. Um, and it kind of who was the player from the Jets that held the record before Strahan, and then he
Mark Gastineau.
yeah, and like absolutely threw a hissy fit at Brett Favre for falling down,
Yep.
and now Strahan's claiming that he didn't have 18 games, whereas Miles Garrett did. But yeah, shout out to the
And they
Texas product Miles Garrett.
and they talk about wide receivers being prima donnas. These
Right.
pass rushers, man, it's even Christmas, fragile egos.
100%. And doing it for a Cleveland Browns team, you know, Miles Garrett is the lone bright spot and has been the lone bright spot for that organization. And he's more than deserving. If you break an NFL record like that, um, Yeah, you gotta win
Yeah,
defensive player of the year.
he's not a kid, either, he's 30, and
Yeah.
that's some foreshadowing if you're wondering about the old dog team. Yeah, you're talking about a 30-year-old defensive end who
Yeah.
is still that dominant. Yeah, well, I think that was our unanimous choice, Myles Garrett from the Cleveland Browns.
Arguably the easiest one out of this entire thing.
I think so too. Offensive Player of the Year, the finalists: Drake May, quarterback, New England Patriots; Christian McCaffrey, running back for the Niners; Puka Nacua, wide receiver for the Rams; Bijan Robinson from the Falcons; and then Jackson Smith and Jigba, wide receiver from the Seattle Seahawks. Not MVP, Offensive Player of the Year. Who you got?
Yeah, I always like to say the offensive player of the year is always the best
Running
skill
back.
position. I feel like they always give the MVP to the quarterback, and the offensive player of the year is always who is the best skill position player. Um, and in my opinion, going into this season, I had zero faith that this player could stay healthy. And then all of a sudden, his entire team got hurt around him, and he was the most productive. And that's Christian McCaffrey. I feel like he already finished as the number one player at the position. Uh, finishing a year with 1,200 rushing yards and over 900 yards receiving. It was very reminiscent of 2023 Christian McCaffrey,
Mhm.
2 years removed, where if I'm not mistaken, he finished, 3rd in MVP and ended up winning Offensive Player of the Year.
Yep.
And I feel like, this will be his 2nd one, and he'll just continue to build a Hall of Fame case. Christian McCaffrey he was arguably the best offensive player in all of the National Football League.
Yeah.
And after a horrible year like he had in 24. If he doesn't get that, he deserves comeback player of the year.
He is the favorite. It's funny you mentioned that. He is the favorite to win Comeback Player of the Year. He won the FedEx Ground Award, that's gonna be announced tonight as well. Not you always I always think of like you said, the non-quarterback offensive player is the OPOY.
Yep.
Um, Although I think this year the difference now, you're 100% right. I'm not going to argue with the Christian McCaffrey win here. He carried that team that was just beleaguered by injuries, just eviscerated.
Yeah.
But I've got the offensive player of the year, the unstoppable force on the field that you have to account for every single time he gets on the field. He's not got burner speed. He's not going to put lights out, but he runs impeccable routes. He is dynamite after the catch, and that's Jackson Smith and Jig, wide receiver of the Seattle Seahawks.
I'd love to see it. Rockwall Zone, Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Yeah,
Absolutely love to see it. And you're so right. After trading away DK Metcalf, it was like, ooh, this is some heavy shoes to fill. And then all of a sudden, he burst onto the scene as a player that even whenever he's covered, he's open.
absolutely. And you're talking about, again, we talked about contracts, and the value you bring to your team is not only what you deliver on the field, although that's what this award is, but the fact that he's playing on the contract that he is, freeing up money to bring in a Darnold and to do those kinds of things. Yeah, I am really, really looking forward to seeing him go up against the Patriots defensive backs to see if they're able to at least contain him a little bit. And the old line about Michael Jordan, you can't hope to stop him. You can only hope, or you can't stop him. You can only hope to contain him.
Yeah.
That is Jackson Smith and Jigba right now in the NFL.
Yeah, and, like, he almost had 1,800 yards receiving. That's just incredible, and especially with the amount of receptions. Uh, like, for example, Jamar Chase, had 127 receptions last year, and had the most yards receiving at 1,708. So he was, almost 2 full yards ahead of, Jamar Chase's average. And yeah, it's incredible to see, the level of production, JSN has had this year. and he's still playing.
Yep.
So that has to factor in just a little bit.
Yep, absolutely, and you look over his 3-year career, his trajectory, it went from 628 yards to 1130 in his second year to 1793 this year. Um, yeah, touchdowns 4, 6, 10. He's climbing all of the things. First downs, this one blows my mind. 29 his rookie year, 57 last year, 79 first downs.
Yeah.
Tell me he's not a Sam Darnold security blanket right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel like the only thing that hurts him is the touchdowns.
Yeah.
And that's just because God, they wouldn't give it to Kenneth Walker, but damn, do they give it to Charbonnet?
Charbonnet.
That
Yeah.
man had so many red zone touchdowns, and it's like JSN will get them all the way down there, and then the touchdowns would be given to someone else. So I feel like that might be the only thing that hurts him. But my goodness, he had one hell of a year.
He is a dynamite receiver and a lot of fun to watch.
Yep.
All right, this to me was the hardest category because, excuse me, all 5 of the finalists were deserving. I could have passionately made an argument for all 5 of these guys, and this is Coach of the Year. Liam Cohen for the Jaguars, Ben Johnson for the Bears, Mike McDonald for the Seahawks, Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco, and Mike Vrabel with the Patriots. Wow, this is a killer slate. Like I said, I could have made a passionate argument for any of these guys. Who are you going to make a most passionate argument about?
So whenever I looked at this list, I really try to put myself in the shoes of who would be picking it. And I know that for essentially one of the caveats to win Coach of the Year normally is one of the best teams in the National Football League. And it just so happens that out of this list, there's only one coach that had the number one seed. And even without that, uh, this coach, ended up having one of the best defenses in the National Football League, and he is the defensive mind guru. And so that has to go to Mike McDonald. I just feel like what he did with Seattle and transforming it to arguably the best defense in the National Football
In
League.
what, 2 years?
Yeah,
Yeah, this is the second year.
yeah. And in such a tough division, with a McVay and a Shanahan, two of the top offensive minds in the National Football League. He was able to not only win that division, but also have one of the top defensive units. And so you would think that that would make Seattle a little bit weaker, being in a division with so much offensive potential. But Seattle lived up to his calling, and I feel like there's no coach that has the credentials like Mike McDonald does this year in this coaching um, finalists.
Yeah, cannot argue with that. Like I said, I could have made an argument for any of these guys, but I am going to my pick for Coach of the Year, and I don't think neither of these guys do I think is going to win. I think the winner is going to be Mike Vrabel, the other Super Bowl quarterback. He's got, I think that's who's going to win. I believe who should win is the coach who, in his first year, flipped a 13-loss team that didn't have an identity, that had a quarterback that was floundering on his second contract, making top tier NFL quarterback money, but not able to actually. They were not producing. They were a 13-loss team, and flipped them around to be a 13-win team to put this floundering quarterback, make him one of the finalists for the MVP of the National Football League, created a defense that was the identity of this team, brought in Jacoby Myers mid-season before the trade deadline from the Raiders. Hated to see him leave, but you saw a spark come into Jacksonville when Myers hit that team. You had a two-headed running game. He pushed all of the right buttons. This team looked like they could be a Super Bowl bound team. I think their youth hit them a little bit. When they got into the playoffs, it's a whole different game, but that is my Coach of the Year, Liam Cohen of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, first coach to ever do 13 losses to 13 wins in a 1 year turnaround.
That's like a Texas Democratic race level caliber of switch.
Yeah.
So
No. And Trevor Lawrence was on life support. If it didn't work out with Liam Cohen, I don't know if it was going to work out with anyone. And absolutely transformed that organization
yep.
from being one of the worst to one of the best.
And
And
again, the thing that most impressed, or one of the things that most impressed me, that defensive identity that Cohen brought as the offensive guy, that blew my mind. But the fact that Trevor Lawrence was one of the 5 finalists for the national or the NFL MVP this
MVP.
year,
Yeah.
that is a direct result of Liam Cohen.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And I want him to win just for him to get up there and actually pronounce Duval correctly.
Duval, yeah.
So
All right.
yeah.
So all my Duval fans out there, Duval, we got you. We know how this goes. All right, the final category, and we're already a minute 14, I mean, an hour and 14 minutes into this. I'm going to propose something on the fly. Feel free to tell me to shut up. The Super Bowl, obviously, this weekend. Next week, if we push the all old dog and all young bull teams to next week, we could recap the Super Bowl and go over the old dog young bull teams, or do you want to go ahead and push through and do those now? Do those today. You're no pressure.
Hmm, that's difficult. My inclination is to do it now,
Let's do it. All right.
but, it might be a long episode.
Yeah, be a long episode. You may have to stop and get a sandwich halfway through this one.
Yeah.
All right, back to the sheet. MVP, the final 5, and some of these don't make much sense to me, but the final 5 finalists for the MVP: Josh Allen, quarterback of the Bills, of the Buffalo Bills; Trevor Lawrence, as we mentioned before, from the Jaguars; Drake May, quarterback for the Super Bowl um, competitor New England Patriots; the aforementioned Christian McCaffrey, running back from the 49ers; and the quarterback for the Rams, Matthew Old Dog Stafford.
Yeah, a little caveat to it. I have the winner of the MVP is also the quarterback of the young bull team, and I feel like Drake May deserves it. Um, Drake May's completion percentage really is the one that sticks out to me. He was very accurate, arguably the most accurate starting quarterback in the National Football League this past year. And what Drake May did this year with the cast that he had around him, I feel like sur- supplants him as the first quarter or best player in the National Football League. Essentially, you had a wide receiver room of Stephon Diggs, Keyshawn Booty, um, Hunter Henry, that just not top tier receivers and tight ends to throw to. And yet he was able not only to get the second overall uh,
See,
seed,
mhm.
but he, you know, put up very accurate numbers. So I feel like there's no quarterback and no player in the National Football League that impressed me more than Drake May. So with that being said, he's got to be the MVP.
Okay. Good argument, good case, and I don't think there's a wrong answer unless it was Josh Allen. Again, nothing against Josh Allen, but in my man, we've been talking about this for weeks,
Yep.
probably a couple of months, that the MVP race was going to come down to Drake May and Matthew Stafford.
Yep.
Your Drake May is your all young bull team starting quarterback.
Yep.
Perhaps not surprisingly, my pick for MVP is the all old dog team starting quarterback. But let me just run off some stats for these two guys. You mentioned Drake May, 2% completion percentage, outrageous, 8.9 yards per attempt, 4,300, almost 4,400 yards, 31 touchdown passes. Absolutely, the game has slowed down for him, and he is in command when he is on the field. Plus, he's got great legs when he's running the ball. Not
Yeah,
aesthetically great legs. He's able to run the ball effectively.
absolutely.
However, my choice for this had more than 300 more yards passing total for at 4,707. Had the longest pass of the year was 88 yards. It was longest in the NFL. Passes completion percentage 65%. Uh, Touchdown percentage was 7.7 to Drake May's 6.3. 46. He has 15 more touchdowns than Drake May. 46 touchdowns, same number of interceptions at 8.
That's crazy.
Yeah, this was this was one for the books. Statistically, a case could be made for either one of these. Yes, Drake May has his team in the Super Bowl. Matthew Stafford and the Rams fell just short of that. But if you look around the team, look around the Rams, and you look at their receiving core, Puka was in it. He had some injury issues. There were injury issues all around Matthew Stafford. And my biggest concern, my biggest reservation about Matthew Stafford from the first episode this year was, will Matthew Stafford stay healthy? I didn't believe it was going to happen, and he did. And the value that he brought to his team that came up one game short of the who they play who did was it the Seahawks and
Yeah,
the
they lost to the
49ers or the
Seahawks.
Seahawks and Rams?
It
Yeah.
was Rams, Seahawks.
So he brought his team to the NFC Championship game. Sorry, it's been a week.
Seahawks basically trounced the 49ers the week before.
Yeah, that's right. They shellacked them.
Yeah.
But the value of that these two players brought to their team, I think that the value Matthew Stafford brought was greater than the value as great as Drake May was. I think the value that he brought to that team was greater than the value that Drake May brought to the Patriots. So that is why my choice for MVP is Matthew Stafford
That's fair.
from Texas.
Yeah, that is fair. It's just you mentioned losing Puka. It's like, okay, yeah, you lost Puka, but you had Devontae Adams to throw to. So it's like,
And you also had a Puka to lose, unlike Drake May.
Right.
Yeah.
Where it's like Stephon Diggs was essentially the only thing you got, and he is far removed from being elite. So
Well, what the Patriots had was again a two-headed running game
that is true.
where they were able to take some of the pressure off May, let him breathe a little bit, let the game come to him.
That's true.
But his command of the offense is something you don't normally see from a second-year quarterback.
And Matthew Stafford's touchdowns really is what
Bananas.
probably is going to separate him. And I think that also is going to hurt May with the amount of touchdowns he has. Because even rushing touchdowns combined with them, Stafford still has like 8 more touchdowns. So it's just absolutely bonkers the amount of stats Stafford put up this year. And it's going to be interesting to see who wins MVP. I think that one was the hardest to me figuring out, just because I feel like there were 4 candidates that I thought, you could make a case for
At MVP?
at MVP.
Yeah, to me, the first two obviously are the two quarterbacks. Christian McCaffrey, in my mind, would fall third.
Yep, me too.
Trevor Lawrence, I think I would put fourth ahead of Josh Allen.
See, and I would flip that. I would
Yeah.
have Allen, and then I would have T-Law as 5.
And I could accept either one. I could live with either one of those if that were the case. Regardless of how the voting goes, it's going to be exciting tonight.
Absolutely.
All right. This is something we have not done since 2020. We were coming out of actually right smack in the middle of the pandemic, or I guess less than a year after the pandemic had shut down the world in early 2020. In 2020, we put together our all NFL or all old dog and all young bull teams. I had guys like Harrison Smith on my team. There's a couple of guys that were on my 2020 roster that had some honorable mentions uh on my 2025 team, or that were on my 20 they were on the 2020 team that were honorable mention on my 2025 team. So
See, all of my guys graduated from my level, so they could no longer be with us.
that's true. I do have a longer back end runway than you do.
Yeah, but look,
Just yeah, for those who are curious, the way this works, players up to age 24, right,
yep.
are young bull
I only
players.
have one exception, and that's because there's not really many young bull punters in the National Football League. But there's one young punter. He just happens to be 25.
There you go. We'll certainly allow that. And the old dogs are age 28 and older. I will tell you finding um, cornerbacks and linebackers of all places that are younger or that are older than 28 that are actually dominant and effective in the league. Little tough to find. Not gonna
Yeah.
lie, I struggled a little bit on defense.
Yeah. The sweet spot for linebackers I found is like 25 to 27, which was crazy to me
It
because it's like you couldn't get it. I couldn't get it.
killed both of us. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's going to be an interesting part to it.
There are some pretty strong up and coming linebackers that I think are I'm anxious for them to turn 28 for next year, but yeah,
Yeah, that's fair.
when they get there.
That's fair. Unfortunately, they were far removed from where I'm at. But yeah, let's go right into it. So,
Yeah.
of course, our quarterbacks are headed up by two of, I believe, either the MVP or the MVP runner up. And so let's move into the running backs. So my number one running back, we have two on this team. My number one is Bijan. Bijan Robinson is 24. Atlanta Falcons. I still firmly believe he is arguably the best running back in the National Football League. Just he's an all-down back. Everything you want in a running back, Bijan can do. And I'm excited to see him in an offensive system and Kevin Stefanski's system instead of a defensive system like he's been in with both Morris and then also Quinn.
I was a little surprised at the availability of running backs in the old dog category. We always talk about the cliff that they hit at about age 26, 27, 28. I was surprised. I got a couple of good ones that I'd put up against pretty much any running back in the league. I would not hesitate to take either of these two in fantasy. First one we've already talked about a lot, Christian McCaffrey, 29 years old.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So
absolutely.
on my squad. My other one, you want to just snake it?
Yeah, and unfortunately, I feel like your running back is better than mine. But my number two, yeah, we'll snake it. Is Jameer Gibbs. So 23 with the Lions.
Still can't believe he's 23.
Yeah,
Holy cow, he's a beast.
probably deserved to be above Bijan, but I got too much belief in Bijan, and Jameer Gibbs doesn't have to do the nasty, dirty yards. He has a pretty solid, mucky runner behind him
With
in
Montgomery.
Montgomery. Jameer Gibbs falls in my number two.
Yeah, no complaints there. My number one, or number two running back, we also talked about him a little bit earlier. 31 years old, not quite Frank Gore numbers, but he's pretty close, and that is Derrick Henry,
Yep,
King Henry.
absolutely.
Yeah, he's 1,595 yards, 16 touchdowns this year. I mean, come on, he's
Yeah,
31 years old.
yeah.
I have an honorable mention that I snuck in here, and that is Kyle Juszczyk at fullback. We didn't have fullback on the position. He's 34 years old. His stat line is great. 2 rushes for -3 yards, but he had 24 receptions for 213 yards and 2 TDs. He is the enabler of a lot of what Kyle Shanahan likes to do on offense. So he's certainly not going to be any highlight reels. But I squeezed him in. I get a couple of honorable mentions that I squoze in. Kyle Juszczyk is the first of those.
Shout out to fullbacks. They're a lost art
Yeah.
In this modern NFL.
And you look at what Shanahan likes to do in San Francisco and having that fullback. And to be honest, Juszczyk has had that effect everywhere he's been. So yeah, kudos to Kyle. All right, let's move into the wide receiver. This is
Yeah.
where you're gonna shine.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you picked my offensive player of the year for your running back. I got your offensive player of the year for my wide receiver. So Jackson Smith and Jigba, Rockwall Zone comes in. He's 23 years of age. He's my number one receiver.
Yep, my number one receiver at 32 years of age, excuse me, 33 years of age is the aforementioned Devontae Adams from the Rams. He only played 14 games. He only had 60 receptions on the year, which is a down year for him. But he had 14 touchdowns. So he was delivering where the Rams needed him to. So yeah, Devontae is my number one wide receiver.
Absolutely. Love me some Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
My other wide receiver is a receiver that really I feel like he just needs to have more production, but it's because of the system he's been in. But that'd be Drake London. Drake London's my number 2 receiver. He's 24 years of age.
I had him in fantasy, and I did not regret a single week of it other than he had a couple weeks where he's dinged up. He absolutely delivers. And then, again, can't believe he's only 24. He's
Absolutely.
got a good 8-10 years left in his career. He's gonna make noise as he continues to move on if he continues to play.
Agreed.
My number 2 is 32 years old, and he will be playing in his first Super Bowl this weekend. That is Stephon Diggs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 85 receptions, over 1,000 yards, only 4 touchdowns.
Yep.
But again, if he is on the field, the way I'd try to judge a wide receiver is if they are on the field, does the defense have to prioritize accounting for them? And Stephon Diggs is one of those kind of guys. You're either going to have to put your number one corner on him, or you're going to have some double over the top. You're going to have to account for him somehow, even still at age 32. So, yes, Stephon Diggs is my number 2.
Heck yeah.
I have an honorable mention wide receiver. I squeezed a bunch of these honorable mentions in. Wait till we get down to kickers. I got a whole stack of them. Jacoby Myers. Um, he had 75 receptions total, 835 yards, only 3 TDs. But if you look at the difference in the Jaguars offense before Jacoby got there and after Jacoby got there, he was a catalyst that sort of lit them up.
Mhm.
He provided the same kind of role that he played in Las Vegas, where he was the safety valve last year. It's the same role that he played with for Trevor Lawrence. It opened up the running game. It opened up all kind of things. Jacoby Myers is one of those just all-time great team guys. And I think he opened up the Jaguars offense, so he made my honorable I squeezed him in at honorable mention.
Absolutely.
We're at tight end. We're moving fast through
Yeah,
this.
we are. Yeah, my tight end, he didn't have a great year, but of course, he's arguably the best tight end in the National Football League. There's no one at his position that is more effective blocking and receiving. I think that the only comparison would be George Kittle to him, and that is Brock Bowers. He's only 23 years of age. You give him Fernando Mendoza, I think it's only going to go up.
Yeah.
He still, in my opinion, is the best true tight end in the National Football League. And despite having a subpar year this year, he still is the focal point on that offense.
Giving him a quality quarterback, and an offensive scheme that accounts for all of like, using all of the offense and, like, has blocking schemes that aren't just go hit the guy in front of you.
Yep.
I think is gonna pay off huge dividends. Plus, Brock was hurt this year, had knee issues, that he battled all year long. Yeah, I like Brock Bowers because he's a Raider.
Yeah.
My tight end may surprise you a little bit. Kudos, first of all, to Trey McBride, first team All Pro. Kyle
Yeah.
Kyle Pitts finally showed up, second
Wow.
team All Pro, but they're not my pick. My pick is at 36 years old, Travis Kelsey.
Okay.
Has nothing to do with Taylor Swift.
Are we
Kel
sure about that?
I'm pretty sure. Kelsey had 76 receptions, 851 yards. The over under on his touchdowns before the season started was 3.5, if I'm not mistaken. He went over that. So he had 5 touchdowns on the year. But his stats aren't really what makes him what sets him apart and why I called him out. This will probably be his last time on the list. But he's really the key, just like I talked about Kyle Juszczyk on in Kyle Shanahan's offense.
Yep.
Travis Kelsey is instrumental to what Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes are trying to do on the Chiefs offense. So he is really integral. You look at the difference in the Chiefs between when Kelsey was playing and when he wasn't playing, dramatic difference. And doing it at age 36 while out on the Eras tour and doing the podcast with his brother Jason.
Yep.
Um,
And acting.
Being in movies, yeah,
Yep.
Travis Kelsey, kudos to you, you old dog, you.
Yeah, that's fair. I do got to give an honorable mention to Tyler Warren. He burst onto the scene this year. And I feel like the Colts got a very bright spot there.
There's some good tight ends coming.
Correct.
Yep.
Absolutely, because even Colston Loveland deserves some love
Yep.
too.
Yipper.
All right, on to
Moving into the trenches.
yeah, the trenches. Here we come. So, my starting center comes from the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's going to be Zach Frazier. Um, he's 24 years of age, former first round pick. Um, from that Steelers offensive line, he is arguably the best. He did a pretty good job of keeping a 44-year-old quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, upright. Um, Zach Frazier, I just feel like is a budding star. I'm at the position, and so he deserves to be a part of my young bull team.
Continuing on that long tradition of Steelers centers. That's something they're known for, just like their defense. Their
True.
centers, they've yeah, that's they know that that is sort of the pivot of the offense. My center just barely makes the Old Bowl team. I had a lot of just barely's at 28, but at 28, Ern Brewer from the Dolphins. He
Mm,
played 100% of the Dolphins snaps last year, 99% this year. He had 3 holds, 2 false starts, 3 declined penalties, and only a total of 5 penalties accepted on him all year. So he's delivering. He's a Dallas boy. Aaron
yeah.
Brewer is my old dog center.
Heck yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That's a good pick. Not much quality on that Miami offensive line, but he definitely is a lone bright spot.
I was surprised as I started going through here. There were a couple of Dolphins that made or could have made the roster. There's some talent in South Beach.
Yeah. Yeah. That's for sure. They just need a quarterback. My next two are going to be two homers. Um, I just feel like both of my guards, luckily, are two of the best in the National Football League, and that would be the two Tylers. So I got Tyler Smith from the Cowboys, 24, and then the rookie Tyler Booker, 21 with the Cowboys too. Inside offensive line, made Javonte Williams look like he drank something from the fountain of youth. And they just two quality maulers, very athletic for their position. Both crack my young bull team.
Great. Those are the Tyler twins are a great selection there. And the having a maul as somebody that's both a mauler at center, and you look back at like Robert Gallery when he was playing tackle, he for the Raiders, he was horrible. Moved him inside to guard, he was a beast. He was a mauler.
Hmm.
But he didn't have the athleticism that the Tyler twins do. And when you have that kind of athletic ability in the middle of your line, you can start pulling guards, you can start having multiple pulls, you really open up some running lanes that wouldn't otherwise exist. Yeah, I think those are great picks.
Absolutely.
My guards, a couple of old dogs, Joe Thuney from he was the key to Ben Johnson's offense in Chicago,
Yep.
33 years old. He's won 4 Super Bowls, 2 each with Kansas City and New England. He's been a leader for the Bears. He moved from guard to tackle, protecting Caleb Williams' blindside in the divisional round against the Rams. After playing guard all year long, he slid over to play left tackle. Yeah, he's one of my guards. The other one, Quentin Nelson, 29 years old,
Oh yeah.
played all 17 games for the Colts the past 4 years. In 2025, he had 1 hold, 1 false start, a total of 2 penalties. That's the kind of consistency, the kind of professionalism and discipline that you need to have an effective offensive line, and it showed in Indianapolis until, of course, Daniel Jones got hurt. But
Yeah, he's the gold standard. Notre Dame boy.
yep. So hopefully we can steal him or one of his younger identical twins away to bring into the Raiders. All right, move to tackle.
Yeah, yeah. So since we're talking about Notre Dame, I got to go another Notre Dame guy. So Joe Alt is my left tackle. 22 years of age for the Chargers. Dealt with a little bit of injuries at the end of the year, but after losing Rashawn Slater, he moved from right tackle to left tackle, and still had elite production. He's just a quality athletic big guy. And Joe Alt, I feel like you could put him anywhere on that offensive line and you're going to get elite production. So
Yep.
he is my left tackle.
My left tackle is This hurts me a little bit. Garrett Bowles from the Broncos, all 17 games, protecting Bo Nix's blind side, 2 holds, 3 false starts all year long. Yeah, he's 33 years old, so he's, getting up there a little bit. But yeah, that's my starting.
Caught 2 touchdowns in the Pro Bowl.
Yes, he did. He is, an athletic tackle over there protecting Bo Nix's blind side.
Yeah. My next tackle is going to be Armand Membu from the Jets. I cannot believe a New York Jet cracked my team. But the lone bright spot on that New York Jets offense was Armand Membu. He's just so athletic. He is very quick too. And the amount of running lanes that Justin Fields got was from the right hand side. And Armand Membu, I feel like, is a budding star in the National Football League. And if you get him an actual serviceable quarterback, his ceiling is only higher than what he got with Justin Fields.
Yep, I agree. That's a great pick. My second tackle, also a left tackle, 38 years old. And of all of the injuries that the 49ers suffered this year, the one that had the greatest impact was losing Trent Williams down the stretch run.
Yep,
It hurt not having him 100% and having him healthy. So Trent Williams is my second tackle.
agreed. Another gold standard guy. And then, yeah, we got to go into kicker for this one. And then we might hold off on defense
No,
or
and I think we've got time. I've just got to
okay.
dip. I got to be out of here by about 5:30. I got to
Okay,
get to the
cool.
house.
We can kind of speed run the defense. But kicker, this kicker set a National Football League record for longest kick in an environment that is not a dome. So that is even more impressive to me. But I feel like the next bright kicking star is sitting in Jacksonville, and that'll be Cam Little. He's only 22 years of age.
Big leg on him. He changed. He opened up things for Liam Cohen in Jacksonville for sure.
Yeah, just get across the 50,
Yeah,
and that's guaranteed.
exactly. Well, I squeezed 2 honorable mentions in, but my number 1 old dog kicker at 30, you know his story, went to high school in Plano, played soccer at Notre Dame, no football experience until 2019 when he worked with Mississippi State kicking coach Brian Egan. In 2022, he was signed by the Birmingham Stallions. In 2023, he was signed with the Cowboys. This year in 2025, 155 points, 85.7% field goals, 97.9 points after touchdown. The one and only Cowboys kicker, Brandon Aubrey, at 30 years old, is my old dog kicker.
Absolutely.
My honorable mentions, Fairbairn Down in Connie Fairbairn Down in Houston. He was 28 for 28 on point after touchdowns, 44 for 48 field goals, and he was Mama D's fantasy kicker, the only bright spot on her struggling fantasy team this year. And my final honorable mention kicker was on my original um, all old dog team, and that is Nick Folk, a true old dog. He is 41 years old,
Yep.
still hit 96.6% of his field goals, 20 out of 29, and all 22 of his point after touchdown extra points. So yeah, Nick Folk gets an honorable mention on my team.
Absolutely. Can't believe he's still doing it.
Yeah,
Like the Morton Anderson of this era.
exactly. George Blanda,
Yeah,
except George Blanda was sneaking in to play quarterback too.
it's true.
All right, you want to roll over to defense?
Yeah, let's do it. So since we're in special teams, I feel like we can just start with punter. So my punter comes from the Kansas City Chiefs. Um, don't mind what he does off the field, but on the field, his leg is arguably the best. I think I once saw a video of him kicking over 80 yards, which is just asinine. But that would be Matt Ariza from Kansas City,
Yep.
25.
My kicker is 29. He averaged 49 yards a punt for the Super Bowl bound Seattle Seahawks. He was second team All Pro. That was Michael Dixon.
Yeah, totally fair. Kind of is shocking that the best team in the National Football League that has one of the best kickers. It's like, man, just let him do his job a little bit more than scoring all them touchdowns.
Exactly.
But That's a good problem to have.
Yeah, 49-yard punts, that helps flip the field, helps your defense.
That's true. Very rarely do they ever punt.
Yep.
But then we'll go into defensive line. So your rookie of the year for defense is one of my defensive ends. That's James Pierce. You have over 10 sacks as a rookie. That's very impressive. Normally, rookies take a few years to get adjusted into the NFL, but not for James Pierce. So James Pierce cracks my list. He's only 22 years of age.
All right, my defensive end, was the defensive player of the year, unanimous between the old dog, young bull. It's Myles Garrett at, 30. Again, my defensive player of the year, sets single season record for sacks. Enough said on Myles Garrett.
Yep. My next one is going to be one of the best defensive ends in the National Football League, from one of the best defenses, and that will be Will Anderson from the Texans. He's only 24 years of age, arguably the best player on that defense. Having Daniil Hunter across from him, his production was pretty elite this year. Will Anderson deserves to be a part of my team.
I agree with that pick. My second defensive end, he's newly eligible, just turned 28. He had a little bit of a subpar year, but if I am starting a defense in the NFL, this player automatically gets a starting spot. There's no question. He's demonstrated that, and that's Max Crosby. The energy, the engine, the motor that he's got when he's on the field, he's relentless. He wears down the offensive lines. And normally it's the offensive line wearing down the defensive line. Max does it the other way. He was dinged up. He had knee injury this year. There's some tension in Las Vegas. I think that one of the first calls the Raiders' new coach, assuming it's going to be Clint Kubiak, one of the first calls he makes is going to be to Max Crosby to soothe any ruffled feathers, make sure that he's anchored down in Las Vegas, ready to stick around. So he's my second defensive end.
Absolutely. He's so elite. So defensive tackles, I got Javon Carter as my first one. I hate to mention it because he's a Philadelphia Eagle, but you want to talk about one of the best defensive tackles. Not only can he stop the run, but he also has elite spitting capabilities.
I was going to
Um,
mention it if you didn't.
yeah,
Yeah.
but no, Jalen
Jalen Carter.
Carter
Yeah.
is just absolutely tremendous. And I hate that he plays for Philadelphia, but there's no one better than Jalen Carter at that position.
Yep. I agree. Although I think this next guy may argue a little bit, and that is the anchor of the Seahawks defensive front, second team All Pro, Leonard Williams at age 31 at defensive tackle.
Yeah. Absolutely. If since we're harping on the Seattle Seahawks, my next defensive tackle also comes from that. He plays right next to Leonard Williams, and it is the true young bull syndrome. Leonard Williams has 7 total sacks. This player also has 7 total sacks, and they play beside each other on that defensive line. And that's Byron Murphy from Texas. He is from DeSoto. And again, just the level of production he plays, a 3 technique, is just absolutely tremendous. And he's only 23 years of age.
Yeah, that defensive front for Seattle puts some pressure on offenses, that's for sure.
Yep.
My second defensive tackle is first team All Pro. He's the anchor of the Titans defense, and he is going to be one of the building blocks for Robert Saleh, and that's Jeffrey Simmons. I think he is the bright spot aside from Cam Ward, but Jeffrey Simmons is the bright spot on the defensive side of the ball for the Titans. I think that Robert Saleh is going to just be drooling at what he can do with Simmons at only 28 years old. So even though he's an old dog, he's going to be around for a while.
Absolutely agreed. So I'm going to rapid fire the linebackers. So I got Jahad Campbell from the Eagles at 21, Cedric Gray from the Titans at 23, Nedrin Cooper 24 from the Packers. All are bright young stars. Gray and Campbell kind of are slowly but surely getting onto the scene, but Edgerrin Cooper, one of the best players for that Green Bay Packers team.
Yeah, and this is where I started struggling a little bit trying to find linebackers that were in the right age group, but I think I came up with 3 solid ones, all 28 years old, and that's Jordan Brooks from, um, where's Jordan
Miami?
Bro Miami, yes.
Yeah.
Jordan Brooks from
Used to
Miami.
be Philadelphia.
Yep, Josh Sweat from the Cardinals and Alex Highsmith, from the Steelers. I think I would take either trio, either your young bull trio or the old dog trio, and be totally happy with them in linebacker, so,
For sure. Yeah, all the great linebackers are like in that 25, 27 range.
yep,
My 2 corners, um, first one's gonna be Christian Gonzalez from New England,
yep,
just a total lockdown cornerback, sealed the deal to go to the Super Bowl. There's just I don't feel like a better cornerback in the NFL than Christian Gonzalez right now. Another one that, kind of is, a little bit, overlooked, but is a bright star in Houston. That is Derek Stingley, 24 years of age for Houston.
yep, I think those are, good picks at corner. Sorry, stumbling around a little bit.
Oh, no, you're good.
My 2 corners, this is again, linebacker and cornerback is a tough position to find the older guys, but I found 2 that I'm certainly happy with. Number 1 is Marlon Humphrey. He was first team All-Pro last year for the Ravens. And then, Denzel Ward. He only had 1 pick. He was chosen for the Pro Bowl. Only had 1 pick this year, but that's because a lot of teams were thrown away from him.
Right, 100%.
But he had 29 solo tackles, which was a little bit when you look at a corner having that many solo tackles, in today's NFL where you've got multiple running backs and guys spreading offensive schemes, spreading the field, having a cornerback like Denzel Ward that can come up and, stop the play close to the line of scrimmage is critical. So, yeah, Denzel Ward, Marlon Humphrey are my 2 cornerbacks.
Absolutely. A great defensive unit that Cleveland Browns team has. And then my, 2 safeties, first one's gonna be Kyle Hamilton from, Baltimore. Baltimore just knows how to have elite safeties. And then my free safety is gonna be Brian Branch, from Detroit. Both are the age 24, and both, are just so physical, and have elite ball skills as well.
Yeah, my 2 safeties, the first one is, he was listed as a cornerback, but he is in no way a cornerback, even if he's playing cover corner, and that's Derwin James from the Chargers. First of all, he's a Knoll, enough said about that. He is a safety in his soul, even no matter where they line him up on the field. And the second one, Derwin James, 29. My second one is 32, but he led the NFL in interceptions with 7 this year, 8 passes defended, 61 solo tackles, and that is Kevin Byard from the, Chicago Bears, first team All-Pro. So, yeah, those are my 2 safeties.
Heck yeah.
Alright, we got through that list, man.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, this is the funnest one. It's a challenge to, yeah, not only find the guys who played the position that are of the right age, but also to, are they really the kind of guys you would wanna put together on team? And like I said, Max Crosby had a down year, but if I'm lining Max Crosby up on one defensive end and Myles Garrett on the other defensive end, I have no problem whatsoever. Yeah,
Easily.
yeah, that is a so that's the criteria I use. It's this is kind of a fun job, fun thing for us to do at the end of the year.
Absolutely agreed.
All right, we're down to the Super Bowl matchup.
Yes, we are.
This Sunday, Seattle at New England, in San Francisco. Super Bowl licks, as they say. Super Bowl 60, LX with the trophy. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. Just look at the logo. Um, what are the keys for both teams in your mind? And
Um,
where are the weaknesses, where are the challenges that they face?
this is kind of very cliche, but whoever can establish the run the best. Both of these teams' offenses really gel whenever they can essentially run at will. Seattle, of course, they normally have a two-headed monster, but now with Charbonnet being out, it's going to rely all on Kenneth Walker. And Seattle, if you put, I feel like, in my opinion, if they are one dimensional and they have to throw the ball and they have no running production, that puts their quarterback in a very bad spot. And that's really what they've been able to minimize for Sam Darnold, not only in the regular season, but in this playoff stretch too. They've gotten ahead in games and just been able to assert their will in the run. So if they cannot establish the run, and they got to throw the ball the most, I think that bodes very well for New England. And I'll also say, just because Drake May is so young, um, and kind of a new situation. New England really has to be able to run the ball effectively. Of course, they have both Stevenson and Henderson, so they've got to be able to establish the run and eliminate kind of the early on set of the game for Drake May. And so whoever can really find solid running, I feel like is the biggest key for me.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. I think the key is last week, Kenneth Walker carried the ball and carried the load like a number one running back.
Yep.
The advantage, and I was definitely curious about this. With Charbonnet out, when you've got the two of them running throughout the course of the year, like you said, Kenneth Walker did all the hard work, and JSN did the hard work, and then Charbonnet got the tutties.
Yep.
Um, but I think what that also does is that also keeps both running backs fresh.
Fresh.
When you have
Yep.
an injury like Charbonnet's going down and you've got Kenneth Walker is able to step up, he's still got the juice in his tank to be able to be the one, be the
Yep.
bell cow. So I think that that is going to be key. Is he able to continue that? I think that when you look at the Seahawks receivers, I think that they're surprisingly good. You've got Cooper Kupp, of course, JSN is one of the best in the league. You got Cooper Kupp, who is sort of thriving in his role as the number two, but you've also got Rashid Shaheed, who is able to step up. He's just 27, but he is also between the three of them, they're able to take some of the pressure off of Sam Darnold. So I think that you've got a good counter to be able to keep the Patriots defense honest, which will allow Kenneth Walker to be able to carry the ball. So I think that's going to be key there is does Kenneth Walker have enough to be able to carry the load?
Yep.
On the New England side as well, the issue of Sam Darnold, of course, at this point, no matter how banged up somebody is, yep, he's fine. He was full participant in practice. He's been battling some shoulder issues. We talked a little bit about their wide receiver room. It's a little shallow. They are going to, I think, more than any, and I think Vrabel is, this is his mindset anyway. They're going to definitely need to establish the run, take some pressure off of Drake May, so that they can then start opening up the passing game a little bit. Their play action is going to be critical, and then if they, you start dropping into zone coverage, then that opens up, of course, Drake May lane running lane. So, like you said, I 100% agree. Getting the run established is going to be critical on both sides. Um, and I have not decided on my pick, and we are literally seconds away from
Yeah,
making our
we are.
pick. And I am still playing with this in my mind.
Yeah.
The line is, as of this moment, it may change between now and Sunday. Seattle is favored by 4.5. That's been fairly consistent for the last 2 weeks. The over-under has remained relatively stable, 45.5 total points for both teams. The money lines are Seattle minus 225, meaning you would have to bet $225 to win $100 with Seattle win. New England is plus 188. If you bet $100, you would win 188. So those are fairly adamant that Seattle is a pretty solid favorite. The fact that the money line is so Seattle at minus 225 on the money line tells me that there's not a whole lot of doubt in the minds of the sharps who's going to win this game. So we'll roll into the picks. We have some family picks that I'd like to share. First of all, Mama D, Diane, my lovely wife and Charlie's mother, she picks the Seahawks straight up. We've not heard from Brett. Let me check last minute.
Nope.
Nope, nothing from Brett. I think he is going to choose who's he gonna choose?
I feel like New England.
Right.
Yeah, he likes Boston, I think, more than Seattle as a town, and I really feel like that's who he would choose.
I think you're absolutely right. He loves Boston.
Yep.
Stephanie, she chose the Seahawks. Her rationale, and these are quotes: "I've been loving the Patriots, but with May being injured, even though they're saying he's fine, I'm going for the Seahawks." And we talked a little bit about, is Drake May healthy, do you think? Or is it just, does it matter? They're going to shoot him up with whatever horse strengths they need and he's going to
Yeah.
play. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like he's healthy. Nothing that I've seen, shows me otherwise, um, and he's had a full week off, um, so yeah, I think May's more than fine for this game.
All right. Do you want to read Haley's prediction?
Sure, yeah. So my fiance Haley picked the Patriots. Her rationale is because I think the bird teams are cursed. So um, she's going Patriots because the Patriots apparently is not a bird.
There you go. Probably at least as good a rationale as anybody else's rationale.
Totally fair.
All right, now we're down to the young bull and the old dog. You ready to make your pick?
Yeah, I can definitely go into it.
Go ahead.
I feel like whenever it comes to Super Bowls, you look at it and you go, who has the best quarterback? And in my opinion, I've been waiting this entire playoff for Sam Darnold to show his wonderful face, and I really feel like this might be the moment. Normally, unless you're a Trent Dilfer,
Brett
you
Johnson.
yeah, Brad Johnson, you essentially can surefire the best quarterback winning, and in my opinion, that would be Drake May. I just feel like the Patriots have people that have been there, and Mike Vrabel and McDaniel's, and kind of the brass of New England to kind of show them the ropes. And so I really feel like the Patriots are going to shock the world and upset Seattle. And I'm actually kind of surprised that the line is this high, just because of kind of the uncertainty between these two teams. Seattle has a tremendous defense, and I really feel like the chess matchup I'm looking forward to the most is going to be Christian Gonzalez versus
JSN.
JSN.
Yep.
Just two elite players going at each other. But I really just feel like at the end of the day, the quarterback is what matters the most. And I just trust Drake May a little bit more than I trust Sam Darnold.
All right. Excellent choice. I have been battling with this all week. And my battle, I've been trying to talk myself into a Patriots upset. Um, I don't think May's shoulder is going to be an issue. I think that their running game is going to be solid. I think their defense is going to be okay. I think the Patriots, I wouldn't be horribly surprised if the Patriots were to pull off an upset here. Um, However, what I couldn't talk myself past is the Seahawks defense. I think the Seahawks defense is elite. I think that they are going to be compared throughout history. They're going to be compared, not on the same level as the 86 Bears, but they're maybe a 2000 Ravens kind of defense where you've got guys that are emerging, you've got young players, you've got old talent that's been around. I think that this defense is elite. I think Darnold is a step up from Trent Dilfer and Brad Johnson. Um, he may be in the Flacco range, maybe a little bit better than Flacco if you're looking at Super Bowl winning quarterback.
All those quarterbacks carried by elite defenses.
Absolutely. And that's what I'm saying. You've got a quarterback who has he may not be in the top tier of running backs, but Kenneth Walker is definitely in the second tier
Hmm.
of running backs. He's having to carry the full brunt of the running game for the Seahawks, but it's only one game. He doesn't have to do it for a stretch in the season or for the whole season. He has to do it for one game. He's had 2 weeks off. He is physically going to be able to carry that load. Darnold is all season long, whenever Charlie and I were watching games or talking about games, it was like, okay, it's time for Darnold to throw a stupid interception. and he just didn't. He just didn't throw that many stupid interceptions.
Yep.
He's got an offensive scheme with the aforementioned Clint Kubiak,
Yep.
who's put a scheme around that is going to leverage his talents while protecting his weaknesses. So I just can't get past the Seahawks defense, and I think that's exactly the same thing that the Patriots are going to encounter. They're not going to be able to get past the Seahawks defense either. Having said that, I think it's going to be a reasonably high-scoring game. I think we are going to go over the over-under. I think it's going to be Seahawks 28-21, so they will cover the 4.5 points. They will go the over, and if you are betting, you're going to have to bet $225 to win $100 back on this bet. Because
Just
yeah,
do player prop bets. Don't
yeah.
don't do the money line. Do player prop bets. That's how you can make your money.
What we were talking player prop bets earlier. What was my favorite? I had a player prop bet that I said was my favorite. Hang on, let me find this. This is um Super Bowl prop bets. Goodness, was just talking about this today. Hang on, I'm drawing a blank, but I'll look it up and it'll come back to me.
Yeah, like Jason Myers for 50. Oh,
No, I can't remember what the heck it was.
does Michael Dixon get a kick within the 5-yard line?
No, it was no, it wasn't JSN, wasn't Hunter Henry. I don't want the player props. I just want it was one of the stupid prop bets. Here
I
we
just
go.
gotta say, Kenneth Walker fumble odds. I would hammer that.
Ah.
I got a feeling he's going to put the ball in harm's way, and that's kind of what they've done to minimize.
Oh, I know what it was. Will a Patriots linebacker score a touchdown?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that's what it was.
the good old Vrabel
And
tutty.
with Vrabel, um, as the coach, I would not put it past him. So,
McDaniels does some interesting things in Super Bowls. We've seen it,
yeah, absolutely. All right,
but
man.
defense wins championships. Um, yeah, your pick for Seattle that that has some sound logic to it, and I think that's what makes this Super Bowl the most fun is that there's not a surefire kind of team that you think going in is going to run away with it.
Yeah, this isn't going to be the 49ers Chargers Super Bowl.
Yeah,
This
we're
one,
like the Eagles Chiefs of last year,
yeah.
where it was just non-competitive by the second quarter.
And I just got this feeling in my gut about the Patriots, and it could just be trauma, past trauma. Tom Brady fumbled, by the way. Could just be past trauma, but there's just something nagging at my gut about the Patriots, but I just can't get past my brain picking the Seahawks.
Yeah. Well, as a big fan of number 90, and now number 0, I would love for DeMarcus Lawrence to get a ring, much like DeMarcus Ware did. And so I might be picking the Patriots, but my heart of hearts, I would love to see the Seattle Seahawks win.
And regardless who wins, we will be having home prepared wings, HEB brisket, queso. We're gonna have family. It's gonna be fun. So
Yeah,
yeah, been a hell of a season. We'll come back together, wrap up the season next year, and start looking toward basketball and the rest of the NFL season, the part of the NFL season that comes after the Super Bowl.
absolutely. And we'll do a little dance with the Bad Bunny halftime show. So
Well, what?
there
Do I
we
have to
go.
wear a dress?
Yeah,
Not
no,
opposed to it. I'm just saying. Okay,
that's up to you. You know, if you want to do that,
no
you are
judgment.
picking the Seattle Seahawks. So
There you go. All right, man. Been a hell of a season. Really looking forward to this final game of the year. It's been a lot of fun with you, man. We just keep getting better and better at this. Maybe next week or next year we'll hit our 65.
hey, and one of these years it's going to be, the silver and black and silver and blue
Hey,
playing,
and when that happens, you know what I'm gonna be screaming. Go silver and black.
and go silver and blue.
All right. Peace.
This is the Patchouli Podcast Network.